Hey y'all, it is the Sunday before I'm supposed to go back to work. And I'm coming on here to tell y'all I do not feel good. I think the last update you guys saw was I'm gonna have incision revisions done in a couple of weeks. And I had been doing okay. And last night I noticed towards the end of the evening I had a pretty bad headache, which I initially thought was not enough caffeine for the day, but I kind of ignored it for a while, but it was ongoing. Even when I put the kids to sleep, it was pretty bad. I ended up waking up, or it ended up waking me up at midnight. So I got up and took some Tylenol. That seemed to help. I was able to go back to sleep. And I noticed at that time, kind of my breast just felt kind of heavy. No significant pain, just heavy. I woke up this morning and the headache had returned. And I just generally didn't feel well. Oh, also during the middle of the night, I noticed that I was really, really cold. So I went to bed in my fluffy robe that you guys see there, and slept in that all night and still felt cold. And so I figured something's happening, but I have an appointment coming up for a pre-op, and so I was gonna truck it through that until I got to that. And then when I woke up this morning and the headache was returned, my right breast was still feeling kind of full. I actually looked at my breasts, and this one is significantly, it's hard to tell here, but this one, as you can see, is significantly more swollen than this one. It actually feels firmer too. I don't have a fever, but I still have pretty significant chills, so I'm pretty positive I've got an infection. I'm hoping it's just in the skin and not deeper into the tissue, but in order for me to figure that out, I gotta go get seen. So I'm gonna go either to urgent care or the emergency room, I haven't decided, but I'm gonna go and get evaluated and figure out what I need to do. I'm hoping I'll just get some antibiotics and we'll be able to keep the plan going forward, but I will update you guys when I can. I just generally don't feel good, and that's how I kind of knew something was brewing, because I just didn't feel good. So especially in the post-op period, when you've got really big incisions, you've had surgery recently, pay attention to that. If you don't feel good, reach out to your surgeon, even if you can't pinpoint anything specific or you think it's your lack of caffeine. If things progress, you've got to check in, make sure there's nothing you need to be concerned about. So I'm going to do that. My parents are here, of course. My mom's going to take me. My dad's going to watch my kids. And we're going to hope it's nothing serious. So I will update you as soon as I can. Hey, y'all. Good morning. So, as you can tell, or as you can probably tell, I am not at home. It's been kind of a whirlwind. So I did go to the emergency room, and I went to the emergency room over urgent care because I figured they were going to want to do some imaging of my breast to see what might be going on. And typically when that happens, at least where I work and receive care, usually the ER is more equipped to do that than urgent care. I went to the emergency room. I was found to have high heart rate and fever when they checked me in, so I went back and got to see the doctor. I'm going to pause right there just to mention something. If at any point you are having any concerns or issues or what you think are complications related to your surgery, it is really important that you go back to the place where you either had your surgery, if it's at a hospital, or you go back to the place where your surgeon practices. Very, very often, I, as a surgeon, see people that had their surgeries done elsewhere, and it's really, really difficult to kind of figure out what happened during their surgery, what happened afterwards, what types of things were done during the surgery, just because it wasn't done at my location. And I'm not familiar with those surgeons, so I don't know what their practice is like. So it's really important if you're having I want to make sure if you're having life-threatening bleeding, you have life-threatening pain, right? Then you go to the nearest hospital. But in general, if you have an urgent issue, but it's not life-threatening, and you're able to get to the place that your surgeon practices or the hospital you had your surgery at, that is ideal. So that's what I did. I went back to the place where my surgeon practices. It happens to be where I practice as well, so I'm very familiar with the people here, and I feel very comfortable getting care here. Anyway, in the ER, it is clear that I have an infection. My right breast is swollen, it's hot, it's red. It's not draining anything from the open part of the incision, but just is not, it looks infected, and I also don't look well. I had a bunch of blood work done. I had a breast ultrasound done. Thankfully, there was no collections of fluid. There wasn't an abscess, which is an infected collection of fluid. There was not a seroma, which is just fluid. And there wasn't a hematoma, which is a blood clot. All of those things can cause very similar symptoms, but none of them are present, which was great. With some fluids and some Tylenol I was starting to feel a little bit better. The ER physician contacted the plastic surgeon on call who does these type of procedures. They gave me two options. They gave me the option of being admitted overnight in the hospital to get IV antibiotics, or if I felt comfortable going home with oral antibiotics, because I had an appointment with my surgeon in 2 or 3 days. So I chose to go home, which in hindsight was not a great decision. And I chose to go home because I have 2 small children. I was feeling a little bit better, and I was supposed to go back to work. And in hindsight, it's funny, I tell my patients all the time, don't worry about your job, your employer, you have to take care of yourself, and I didn't listen to that advice. So I decided to go home with oral antibiotics, hoping that would help, or at least get me to my appointment with my surgeon. I did that, and within 6 hours, I was feeling worse. More headaches, more fevers, chills. I just feeling much worse. So I went back to the emergency room as I was instructed, and I got admitted to the hospital for IV antibiotics. My hope was that, okay, I should have done this earlier, but IV antibiotics, and then we're gonna, what we call, cool this infection down and hope that is enough. My surgeon came to see me yesterday morning, looked at the breast, and he said, you know, your breast doesn't look as bad as I was expecting for how you feel. It's not red anymore. It's not warm anymore. It's swollen, but I was expecting it for it to look a lot worse based on what I had been seeing in your chart. And I said, oh, okay, because it's difficult for me to see everything. But he said, so hopefully these antibiotics are working, but I'm a little concerned because you're sicker than what your breast is showing. I said, okay. And I like my surgeons to be very honest with me. I don't like being blindsided by things. So it was like, worst case scenario, tell me what it is. And he said, well, my worry is that this infection actually isn't in the skin, it's that it's in the expander. The expander is the thing that's stretching the chest wall that would be switched out for implants. And he goes, because you're sicker than what your breasts look. And he was like, and that's what I'm worried about. And so if it's the expander, it has to come out. Okay. He said, but things look better since you've been on antibiotics, so let's just see what happens. Part of the reason why I didn't film sooner is because I was so exhausted. I was so tired. Even lifting my phone was exhausting. And rest, just in general, is really good when you're sick for any reason. You wanna make sure that you get enough rest. Drink a lot of water and eat. So I tried to do that yesterday. They put me on 2 different IV antibiotics. And when I say these are the bazookas of antibiotics, these are big gun antibiotics. So this is one of those things that if this didn't work, then we were going to need to do something else. So he came to see me in the afternoon to check to see how I was doing. And throughout the course of the day, although I felt a little bit better, I had these waves where there were some periods of time where I felt a little bit better. And then I could always tell when things were getting worse because I would develop a headache. I would get very cold. And then generally the nurse would come in, take my temperature. She said, yep, you have a fever. Let's get Tylenol. Like, I could usually tell. And the fatigue is serious. So I can tell that my body is working really, really hard to try and get over whatever this is. But I didn't feel great. So my surgeon came to see me around 3 in the afternoon, and right, this was during one of these times where I had my headache just started coming back. They just documented another fever, and he said to me, Simpson, you're having fevers on these big gun bazooka antibiotics, and your breast doesn't look worse. In fact, it looks better on the outside. I think it's your expander, and I think we need to take it out. I said, okay. So I went to surgery last night to have my right expander removed. He did tell me that if on the off chance that when he got in it didn't look like it was infected, then he would leave it. But he was pretty certain that it was the expander. I think he was just giving me that option to make me feel better, give me a little bit of hope. So I went into surgery around 8 p.m. and I came out around 11. So it's about almost 7 o'clock in the morning the next day. So my right expander is out. They left my left expander. I believe they did, I think. Yeah, I believe they did the incision revision on the left because he was planning on doing that anyway. Shit happens. It's a little unusual to me that this type of infection would happen so far out from surgery, but I'm wondering if it has to do with the fact that this incision on my right didn't close really, and then it's just kind of like a pathway to the expander. That's my guess. I don't I know people will ask me if I think my surgeon did something wrong or whatever, and no, these are big surgeries. They're huge incisions that take time to heal, and if they don't heal well for whatever reason, then they can be a site or a nidus for infection. That infection can then wreak havoc on the rest of the healing process. So shit happens. So where do we go from here? I still have the expander in the left. Last night my surgeon said, hey, if I take the expander out, then we obviously need to wait till the infection is completely cleared before we do anything on that side. So he's thinking 6 months or longer before we put an expander back in to then stretch the skin and then be able to exchange them for implants. It's going to be a while before there's an update to this journey, unfortunately, but yeah, so not perfect sunshine and rainbows, but that is major surgery, and that's why we go over the risks of surgery. That's why surgery is such a big decision to make, because while we can predict a lot of the complications and we have statistics and trends on when those things happen, we are all individual people, and sometimes shit happens. Sometimes shit does not go according to plan, and we have to deal with that in the moment. And as I tell a lot of my patients before they go to surgery, or when they're making the decision to go to surgery. I want to make sure that you understand the risks, and that if a complication happens or if something unexpected happens, you are still going to stand by your decision to have proceeded with surgery. And I still stand by my decision of proceeding with surgery. This is just one of those things that can happen. So anyway, this thing is super fucking long. So I am going to rest. I don't know how long I'll be in the hospital, maybe another day or so. Hey y'all. So I am back home. So this saga started on Sunday. It is now Thursday. I was released from the hospital yesterday, like early evening. So it's Thursday, like mid-morning now. I am feeling a lot better, like a lot better. Shortly after the last part you saw, like no fevers, no chills, no headaches. All of my blood work that had been abnormal when I was admitted to the hospital had all gotten better. I mean, I just got better really quickly because we took out the source of the infection. So I'm grateful for that. As you can see, I am back in my gray top because when the right expander came out, my surgeon did put a drain in, just because when he went in to remove the expander, there was some fluid in there. He wanted to make sure there's no collection, there's no hematomas or other fluid that's collecting. I see my surgeon today, so just to check on the incisions, make sure those look good, to check on the drain, make sure those look good. God, I hope the drain comes out. That would be amazing if the drain could come out. But so just to make sure that I'm doing okay. But I feel a lot better. I hope I look more like myself now. Although I swear, like I feel like in every single video, every single part of this, my hair looks the exact same because I can't do anything. What I will do is I will update you all after my visit with him. And that'll be kind of like the wrap up video. I will give you the update with him, if there's going to be an additional follow up, and then I will give you my tips and tricks and things for the first part of this journey. I think I've mentioned this probably several times now, but I will film and document the replacement of the expander in this breast, the recovery of that. I will document the exchange that happens with both the expanders exchanging out for implants, because I do want you all to see that. I want to give you a complete journey. It's mine, it's individual. Some of these things may not happen to you, some other things may happen to you, but this is my journey and I want you guys to be able to see it beginning to end. So I will do my best to document as much as I can. But just so you see my face and know I'm doing okay, much better than I was. I'm out of the hospital, thank you, Jesus. And I will check in with y'all after my appointment today.